I'm not Johnsy.
What happened to Johnsy?
Man, we already lost Johnsy. Damn it.
What did you do to Johnsy?
Moment of silence for Red Stapler Productions.
Never say that.
No, never. I shouldn't even. No, Johnsy's having some much deserved date night time. He said he might swing by.
Sure is.
But and like Johnsy and Jude, he's like, hey man, like, you think you could like yeah, it's okay. Your pay's not very good here, so yeah, you can take the night off, but it's to spend time with your wife. It's
can we give a shout out to the real like heroes of the Dude Network? All of these amazing women who deal with our bullshit on a fucking minutely basis.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just going to take myself off and say anybody that's not me are the real heroes of the Dude Network.
I'm going with the wives, man.
The wives, hey, but you won up my thought process, man.
Just saying, man. They don't get enough credit for dealing with us.
No, that is a fact.
I've met us.
Us are an interesting crowd for sure. That's why I wanted to get them to. And by the way, we did that thing last Friday. We did the sealed envelopes with the wives. Loved it. Got to keep that going.
The wife is already pondering greatly what her topic's gonna be.
Alyssa felt terrible because she had already crashed because she was like not feeling good. And like in the morning, like at 4 a.m, she must have sent a text while I was sleeping and said, "I'm so sorry." And I was like, "That's all right. I might feel them next week." But yeah, the wives. That's why I wanted to get them involved. Like I wanted them to at least feel they had a special part of the show. Something that they can call theirs. And get revenge for all the BS we put them throughout the week.
Oh yeah, yeah.
All right. Oh, we got a couple guys here. Appreciate everybody that's on here watching. If you're on here, like the video for us, please. Anytime we get more likes, it lets the providers know, like, hey, this is a good show. Let's get it. We'll do like some comment recaps here. But thank you, Bloke to me. That's your boy, isn't it?
Sure is. That's one of the best brothers I got on the realm of social media.
The Aussie, oi, oi, oi guy.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
I love that guy already. I don't even need to meet him.
One day, I hope to
actually. Robert Reyes. Yeah, you guys are a different breed. Facts. We love Robert. Love you, Robert. Thanks for hanging out here. Yeah, everybody give it a like. And if you know somebody that you think might like watching absolutely stupid stuff with you, give them a share too. Anything that we can do to help grow this is greatly appreciated. And speaking of appreciation, real quick, our sponsors of tonight, and Rev's laughing. Rev's laughing because he's not used to the Thursday night suave of the
we've been friends for almost 2 years now, Tony. I'm used to your shenanigans and malarkey, bro.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Just because it's you've been away from it for a couple Thursdays. But not Friction. Friction Farms is really cool. We like them too. But Willow Seasonings and Blends.
Rev, natural.
I know you're not a big college football guy, but if you were, really cool contest going on right now with Willow Seasonings. If you go to my Facebook page, The Dude Network, or if you go to the Twitter, The Dude Network, you can look up any of my recent tweets. There is a link to ESPN.com College Bowl Pick'em. It started out with like 10 people. I got it up to 20, and he's like, I'm going to splash the pot. So it went from having a first place winner to a first, second, and third. And if you suck really bad, like Rev, you're probably not very good at this. But if you got last, you still get a choice of anything from Willow Seasonings. We even got a participation trophy because we're just for the people in all shapes and sizes.
I don't know about that, Tony. I'm pretty good with statistics and mathematics, bro.
I think you should play and get us to 50 because we're at 46 and we need 4 more.
90% of my job for the past 20 years has been doing fucking spreadsheets. I'm pretty sure I'd be really good at it. But frankly, I got better shit to do with my time.
Well, for anybody at home that's not as Debbie Downer like old Uncle Rev over here, it takes about 5 minutes to do if you have ESPN app. So that's all.
So speaking of college football,
thanks Cleveland Whiskey. Cleveland, the Christmas bourbon.
You inspire an interesting story from my youth.
This normally happens when we talk. There's a lot of this is why this is so random.
And this is like next level ridiculous. So be prepared to be utterly and completely offended or laugh your nuts off, one or the other.
Probably the latter.
The latter.
Yeah. I feel pretty good about not being number one.
So when I was like 10 or 11, my dad got sick and he was in the hospital, right? And they give him the room and he's in the bed by the window. So there's another bed. So for visiting hours, we'd have to go past whoever was in the other bed.
Oh, one of those deals, yeah.
Yeah. So, mind you, I'm like 10 or 11, and we go past, and the entire time we see like these 6 huge black dudes just laughing their ass off for like weeks, right? So finally, one time after visiting hours are over, I muster enough nerve in my 10-year-old body to like flag one of them down. I'm like, hey, bro, what's so funny? Because I don't know anything, right? And this dude looks around and he goes, all right, come here. So our homie in that bed apparently was a linebacker for the local college university on their football team. And he was going to town on his girlfriend, this little tiny spinner chick. And he fractured his penis. He was going so hard. And it started filling up with blood to the point where he couldn't dismount, shall we say. And they had to call an ambulance and then figure out how to move them like conjoined to get him to the hospital and then like extricate him from her. And he was recovering from that injury the entire time.
Damn. That's awesome.
Right?
The things that you encounter in life at the very developmental age of 10. And it was at that point, Rev was like, definitely going to the Army.
That's a whole nother long story for a whole
man. We don't even, God. I'll leave that one for you and Johnsy.
That I will, no, you're going to be here for that one because you know what? I'm going to promise you that there are pictures of some of the people that were involved.
Did you like lose a bet or something?
No.
Okay.
If it was that simple. But it definitely involves a stripper from the headlining stripper at Cheetahs. And I'm going to leave it at that.
I'm intrigued already. Yeah. We'll have to, when we get Johnsy involved, like that's going to have to be a sooner rather than later.
That's probably good. We'll do that next episode because I got to dig out some pictures from way back in the day.
Nice.
You might even see a Christmas picture to Rev when he was like 15.
Oh, there's got to be so much hair.
A little bit.
You didn't come across as a guy that was high and tight until you had to get. I'm feeling when they give you your little snippy snip at BT that you that there's a lot of hair that came off in that moment. You were probably the guy that one of the guys they put first.
Yeah. And my high school experience, I either had like hair down to my belt or I had like a 6-foot tall green mohawk. So give you a little perspective there.
Damn, you went full casualties, bro.
Yeah, dude. That's actually how the Rev lost his front teeth.
What, the casualties?
Yeah, it was at one of their shows.
If people don't know, it's like your typical punk band where everybody had spiked colored mohawks that were like that. Literally, when they turned around, looked like the moon.
Yeah, dude, it was like 10 or 11 years ago. It was their Black Hearts tour, and it was also the anniversary of the Ramones' Greatest Hits album being released. Nice. So their first set was from their new album, and then the second set they did the entire Ramones' Greatest Hits album. It was fucking epic. But I was in the mosh pit and I caught a headbutt from this dude and he busted out all my front teeth. I was spitting out like teeth and blood and shit. They brought me up on stage because I was still doing it because I lost so many teeth. Dude, I was like a year and a half sober when that shit happened.
Man.
Yep.
I remember, like, true story. I was in and out of a concert once in like under 5 minutes, but somehow broke back in.
Nice.
It was at the House of Blues in Myrtle Beach. I jumped into a mosh. I was pretty lubricated when I got in there, but I jumped right in, and that's where I messed up, because normally a mosh is like a circle of friends. So when you like jump in and start bumping shoulders with people and you're the outsider,
it's gonna be a bad day.
homie found out the rough way of that one. The next thing, I was getting stomped by about 6 dudes. I remember just grabbing onto the first set of legs I could that wasn't beating my ass. There's a security guard, and he took me outside, and I was like, bro, I just paid $80 for these tickets. I was like, this is the opening act. Why would I get kicked out of this show already? I was like, man. And then he went to console with another one. The door was right there, and I went like,
nice,
just go right back in. Yeah. And then I'm like, then I found my boys, and I was like, thanks for the backup, fellas.
Yeah. So,
sorry.
On our Friday show last week, we had a very interesting guest from Crow Foods.
Yeah. Love Crow, man. Crow was awesome.
He was a really great dude. And he said that, you can look it up, he said that he would be watching the show. And I promised him some interesting conspiracy theory stuff. So
he really was intrigued by the Hank Hill. You had him on the Hank Hill.
Sure did. So for those of you who don't know, there's a gentleman by the name of Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he's an astrophysicist. He actually, for those who are Avengers fans, he actually calculated the weight of Thor's hammer, which is 300 billion herds of elephants.
Seems heavy.
Yeah. So this guy has a theory about the lottery and high school education. And I was talking to Crow about this, so I'm going to explain it a little bit more. So the lottery is random numbers, right?
Right.
Okay. So that's not entirely true, because there's mechanical devices involved with the lottery when we pull the numbers, right? So if you do proper statistical analysis of the devices used, the numbers, all that stuff, you can fairly accurately figure out what the next numbers are going to be. It's just mechanical and statistical analysis. That's all it is. So the theory that Neil deGrasse Tyson is, so if you have kids who are in high school here in America, they don't teach proper statistical analysis at all.
The Providence stats is not a requirement to graduate high school in the United States.
It sure ain't. They gloss over it, and
it's available. It was available in my high school, but it was like if you were a senior and you didn't want to take like geometry 2,
it's an elective course.
Yeah, it was like trigonometry was not a requirement, and neither was probability and statistics, but each were like a half-year class. Yeah. Anyway,
so if the U.S. government instilled a very serious probability and statistics analysis class all through high school, they would have to give out a lot of money, because anybody who has the base knowledge of statistical analysis and probability could, in theory, figure out the lottery numbers in every single state.
Could you imagine? It's like that Bruce Almighty movie where he grants yes to everybody, and everybody wins a lottery, and then everybody won like $23.18.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, so if every kid in high school did this class in statistics and probability, and they kept up with it, so when they turned 21, if they all played the lottery, $100 million divided 100 million ways, everyone's getting $1. But here's the thing. So every time you buy a lottery ticket, there are taxes.
Yeah.
So some of your money goes into the pool for the lottery.
I mean, you mean, speaking of conspiracies, taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. For the children in school. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But yet, like our state still requires every local community to pass a levy every year for operations costs. Anyway, that's
exactly. But that's the whole point. That's why Neil deGrasse Tyson came up with this theory.
Yeah, can you imagine if that was unfair, how little the schools would get?
I'm just saying, dude, if everybody could figure out those numbers and everybody cashed in every time there was a lottery, there'd be no taxes. The government's never going to let that happen.
Yeah. Well, there's and that's not the first time. I'm sure you're aware. Are you aware of the Battle of Blair Mountain and the West Virginia Coal Wars?
Oh, yeah. Interesting fact is that's where you get the term redneck from.
Yeah, actually, no, it was before that. It just became the premonition. It was actually the first rednecks was the railroad strike of Maryland was the first ones to be coined the rednecks. And then the coal mine, and then some of those union organizers came down to help with the union organizers down in southern West Virginia.
Yeah, and they'd all put red bandages around their neck.
Yeah, because they used them for coal dust, so they just tied them around their neck to identify, it was like their uniform.
Yeah.
It was identify, like, all right, that's a redneck, which means, hey, they're union, pro-union. For the, oh, shit, what was I talking about there before that? Oh, West Virginia Coal Wars. Oh, the schools, keeping stuff out of the, Jesus, smoke another one, Tony. It was about keeping information out, and I had the guest on. His name is Chuck Keeney, and he wrote a book where he actually had proof of if they wanted the state to help fund the school books for the school system, it couldn't have anything about the Battle of Blair Mountain in it or anything about the West Virginia Coal Wars. It had to be omitted from all textbooks for it to be allowed. If they wanted their books to be passed by the State Board of Education, it had to have all that omitted because they didn't want upcoming students to be pro-union and sympathize for the union rights and activists. Because there's still only, as poor as a state as West Virginia is, it still has some of the richest people.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like what you're saying, like to keep trig out, that's just the school system. But it's fact though. I mean, they can prove it.
It's kind of like most things, man. If you keep the people ignorant, then it's easier to rule them.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to control your herd of sheep when they're all sheep.
Sure is, dude.
And that's what everyone's like, I'm a sheep. I'm like, no. Like, it's not a name calling. It's literally a proven tactic that governments outside of the United States have used for centuries.
Look at the UK, bro. The UK, there was that thing that the sun never sets on the British Isles is because they colonized so many places in the world. And that was one of their tactics. They take away all of their weapons. They keep people ignorant and poor.
Yep.
It's easy to rule them that way.
Dependent on the almighty crown. Yeah.
One of the messed up things here in America is so homesteading's a big thing. I mean, if you look on social media, there's tons of people who do homesteading.
And I'd say that's one thing that's come up of it.
Well, here's the interesting thing. So say you own land, right? And that's where you're going to do your homesteading, right? Mm-hmm. And then you collect rainwater, you dig your own well, right? And then you have like solar powers, wind turbines, whatever. So you don't need to be connected to the grid, right? There's a number of legal cases where the government started taxing people to use their own water. Okay, so if you have your own land, you dig your own well, the government's going to charge you a tax for you to do that.
If you bring attention to yourself, but if you're really off grid and you know what you're doing, you should be able to keep it pretty low key.
I'm just saying. They're charging you to use your own stuff.
You got to get you for something.
Always, man.
Freedom isn't free.
Sure ain't.
That's the God's honest truth right there. Comment recap. We got to go in here. Door hammer, mosh pit, remote, statistical analysis, rednecks, only on the Bro Network. I'm down with it.
You know it, dude. You know it.
Oh God. So man, Have a good week, man. Wild, cold, snowy week of forge making up in northern Arizona, up in the mountains.
Oh, absolutely, dude. It snowed for like 3 days, so we got like a foot of snow. Was it yesterday? It was 2 degrees first thing in the morning, so that's lovely.
With or without the wind?
Without the wind chill.
Nice. That's
with the wind chill. It was like below 0.
Oh man. It's been a depressing week here in Ohio. Low 40s, mid 40s, gloomy. I think we saw the sunshine for 10 minutes, and I remember even Wallace, my son, goes, "Dad, look, the sun!" Like straight up, I'm not making that up. He was like, "Dad, look, the sun. Can I go outside?" And I'm like, "Still 40 degrees."
You're like, "No."
Yeah, sorry.
You know what? Even here with the snow and how cold it is, we still see the sun every day, bro.
Yeah.
Enough time to spark up the forge and start making some cool stuff.
Oh man, I'm excited to see Speaking of Guardians of the Galaxy, I would think you're going to make something that looks like it belongs on the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Something like that.
Yeah, and then but cooler.
Yeah,
it sure would be cooler if you did.
There's probably going to be fur involved. There's definitely going to be some very high tensile strength steel. I want to be able to cut a car hood with it when I'm done.
You need to make one out of a jawbone and call it Samson's dagger.
I could probably get a jawbone if I really try.
Dude, you're in Arizona. Yeah, jawbone should not be an issue.
Nope, not even a little.
Yeah. I don't know. So, like, let's talk about some random stuff here, man. I know, like, we just kind of just go.
Kind of what we're doing.
We were talking about, and I guess I'm just trying to come up with a good topic here with being coy and smooth about it, which clearly didn't happen.
We have the sensitivity of a sledgehammer here.
Let's talk. Let's tell the people we do talk a lot.
We do.
Outside of the show, we don't just say, "Hey, ho, let's go" on Thursday. Ramones reference for you, like that.
Nice segue, bro.
Yeah, nice blitzkrieg pop. And I grabbed some random cookbooks last night.
You sure did,
but I didn't even make it to the second one because the first one had my brain just going.
The crock pot cooking.
The slow cooker crock pot, 5 ingredients or less cookbook. And I think there was just one of the cooler ones was the pancakes, like the pancake recipes you can do.
Yeah.
Well, you do like a pancake cake in the morning.
Yeah.
And you can do like apples, walnuts, cranberries. The dulce de leche was 1 ingredient dulce de leche. Just more of a process than anything else.
That is the very first video I ever did on social media. If you scroll all the way to the bottom of my page, it's making dulce de leche. With the exact technique. I did it on the stovetop. You don't even need a crock pot. It just takes way longer.
Well, what's funny is Bentley Barbecue literally just did that.
I know. We were talking about that. I'm like, bro, that's the first thing I ever did. And he makes the dulce de leche pie.
Yeah, that's what he did. He did dulce de leche pie, which I could do. I have the pie crust, but I don't want, me, man, I can't he wouldn't care. And I would give him credit, but I got to take stuff up a notch, man.
What you need to do is make like a cheesecake filling.
Alyssa literally just bought cheesecake pudding last night.
And you like do a dulce de leche swirl in it, dude. You want to get real fancy? You know what you do? You make your dulce de leche. You
heat it in a smoker.
Yeah, you could throw your bricks of cream cheese in a smoker for an added flavor. But what you do is when you go to make your cheesecake, put your cheesecake filling in your pie shell, right? Mm-hmm. And then do a bunch of circles, like concentric circles, like a target in the middle of the pie, and then take a knife and drag it to the center so you get these cool swirl effects.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, actually what's weird is I suck at art and drawing, but when it comes to making food look pretty, I can do it.
I'm telling you, you use a knife, use like a skewer, something like that, and you pull all those together and it comes into these really cool swirling points.
Yeah, actually, what's funny is Alyssa bought me. She always buys me the really cool, like random stuff for Christmas. And one year it was a food presentation kit.
Nice.
Where it had like the cake designs for the icing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the caramel and the chocolate where you like the spoons where you just like roll off the top. Yeah, man. Like that's in the world of social media. Those things are bangers in the gift world. Those things.
One of the cool things you could do with that, the drizzle spoons, take a balloon and inflate it.
Okay.
Melt some chocolate on a double boiler, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then drizzle your hot chocolate over the balloon and let it set. Like put it aside so it sets, and then deflate the balloon and pull it out, and you get these cool artwork, like 3D kind of chocolate swirls that you can add to top of desserts and stuff and ice cream and shit.
Yeah, you can do some really crazy stuff. Actually, the guy that you helped us get on the show on the 30th, which I can't believe the shows that we actually were able to pull off during the holiday season.
Right.
I mean, we got 2 guests every night for the rest of the year. Last 3 Fridays, double headers.
Yep.
But on the 30th, you have that Claude Joe come on, and he does a lot of commentary on the Chocolatiers. And the Chocolatiers, since you've introduced me to it, like, you know they're capable of some wild stuff. You've seen the TV shows, but some of these TikTok Chocolatiers are insane.
Dude, that one Italian guy, like, you got to realize this is what their life is. That's all they spend their time doing. They literally lay in bed at night contemplating how to do this stuff.
Right.
And here's the thing. What people don't realize is there's a lot of science involved in that kind of thing. So you need to know, number one, geometry. Like if you take a bucket of melted chocolate and say, I'm going to build a horse, you need to know the physics behind it. You have to know the geometry, the angles under the curves and stuff. That way it'll support itself. That way it won't fall over,
And what's funny is a lot of them don't even realize that they are that smart with the science. Because
like if you gave them like a quantum mechanics book, they'd like stare at you. But
they know common sense when it comes to stacking shit up high.
The other thing is like you have to know temperatures. And I don't just mean like how to like melt your chocolate. Like if you're going to temper it properly so everything maintains like rigid structure, there's all kinds of variances and variables you have to consider, like ambient air temperature, moisture content, barometric pressure. All that stuff goes into making those things. Like we just see them do it in a minute and a half, and it looks amazing. But there's a lot of other shit involved that we don't realize.
I couldn't imagine this. It's like in our cooking. Like in YouTube, like, you know so much about science just by cooking, but you don't even realize it's science, or like the amount of studying it would take to understand it in a book format.
The interesting for me, so my dad was a scientist. Okay.
Very good one at that. Shout out Pops. Pops
definitely was. He actually wrote the very first MSDS sheets for asbestos.
Is he the one that found out it was cancerous?
Yes.
Your dad was Professor Scharipa.
He had teaching privileges like at Rutgers, NYU, and Columbia universities.
I remember you saying that he could do any lab in like the Long Island area or the DMV.
Pretty much any university laboratory in New York and New Jersey. Like if you walked into Princeton and said, "Hey, I need your chemistry lab," they'd be like, "Okay."
They'd be like, you see who it is? Like, it's Professor.
Yeah, exactly.
It's Professor Scharipa.
Yeah, exactly. So the interesting thing was his hobby was cooking and the culinary arts. So like he had 1 million cookbooks and he was always trying to figure out how to cook stuff. So he was a scientist pretending to be a chef. So in my world, I'm a chef who pretends to be a scientist.
You want to play a game?
Maybe. Depends on the game.
I have all these cookbooks right here. Pick a number between 1 and 10. and I'll go right to left, and I'll go in and pick out any cookbook. I'll pick out the cookbook between 1 and 10 that you select.
Number 5.
Okay. Let me go check. I'll be right back. It's right here.
All right, now's the time to talk shit about Tony when he's not here.
I can still hear you, though.
I don't care. Like you ain't met me?
Oh.
I think I need to send Tony like the Art de Garmager or like, provincial French cuisine and see if he can make anything. What? For anybody watching right now, comment if you think it would be a good idea to see if Tony can actually pull off making classical French cuisine from scratch.
The answer is absolutely not.
The gauntlet has been thrown, dude.
Dude, actually, man, you got lucky. It's going to be really boring. Planet Barbecue, and it's a big one.
Can I get a do-over?
Yeah. Because there was like one inside it said like reverse cooking for diabetes.
Go with number 3, dude.
Okay. All right. I think that might be the Campbell's one.
For all of you Midwest fans, if you don't have a million cans of cream of something soup in your cabinets, you're not from the Midwest.
Dude, this one definitely is how Midwest is Tony. Campbell's Busy Family Recipes. All right, let's just pick. I want to just stop. French onion burgers.
That is too easy, dude. I already know how to make those.
Yeah.
I bet it involves. Let me see
a burger patty and then some condensed French onion soup and cheese.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
All right.
Ground chuck,
We got 2 on this one: chicken and roasted garlic risotto, and tuna and pasta cheddar melt. America.
I'm gonna tell you right now, risotto is on the list of garbage foods they turn gourmet.
I don't even know how to make risotto, if I'm being honest.
It's fucking overcooked rice.
Oh, okay.
There's certain things.
So basically, it's how I normally cook rice that's not in the bag. The boil and bag rice I nail every time. Anytime I do regular rice, I suck.
I'm going to tell you right now, there's certain things. I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. I will die on this fucking hill. There's certain things that television and social media has brought to the forefront in the culinary world that completely suck and are overrated. You know what? Foie gras is overfed goose liver. Okay. Risotto is fucking overcooked rice. Total garbage.
Is that it? You acted like that was going to be
truffles. Okay. Number 1, if you get truffle oil from the store, that is not real truffle oil. That is regular oil that they've fucking steeped truffles in and then pressed out. So it's not really just truffle oil. So number 1 is a scam. Number 2, they're just mushrooms. They are fucking overpriced mushrooms.
Give me a good sponge morel any day of the week.
Dude, do you know how much white Namibian truffles go for?
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, have you seen the shows where people farm, they literally have watering holes in the middle of the woods, and they have secure, they literally sleep in the patch all year round.
Oh yeah,
because it's literally $30,000 for a year's worth of income off one harvest.
Yeah, they're fucking mushrooms. Get over it.
Yeah,
white Namibian truffles that are found underground in South Africa and Namibia, Rwanda, shit like that. Specifically, one of the big producers of it is the De Beers Diamond Mine. Because they come out all white instead of regular truffles that are black. Dude, those things go for $2-3 grand a gram.
Yeah, it's black truffles from France. Yeah, it's stupid. They have the hog. I mean, if anybody's watching, a lot of people don't a hog has had that truffle on its snout or in its nose. So before it got cleaned, because they just use a big fat hog to go around and root up the truffles.
Truffle hunting with pigs because they have the biggest nose to do it because they're underground.
The rooters, God, whoever owns pet hogs. Good for you. Good
like
for
I said, there's certain things that are just fucking over it. I'm going to explain something because we were talking.
I'm trying to think of what I would deem overrated.
Anything from Salt Bay.
Anything from Salt Bay? I don't even know.
That fucking dude who does this with the salt?
Oh, that guy. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, Alfregoni hates that dude, supposedly.
Dude, I hate that guy. You know what he does? He literally hires people who look like him at all of his different restaurants because he set up like a chain restaurant deal, right?
Yeah, I'm wondering how all these Fabio-looking dudes was like, man, this guy just showed like, oh, I got lucky. He was at my restaurant tonight.
No, he didn't. He just hired a guy who looks like him.
That's crazy.
Dude, and then what he'll do is he'll take like a tomahawk steak, and they'll grill it they'll cook it however you want, right? And then they will wrap it in gold leaf.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of
and they will have Salt Bay come over, Salt Bay. Do the salt thing in front of you, and they'll cut it table side, and they'll charge you like $2,500 for that shit. So you come over to my house, I'll cook you the same fucking steak, and it'll taste better because it doesn't have fucking gold leaf.
I mean,
and you're not spending $3,000.
At the end of the day, man, good for those people that have that budget to have those life experiences. I think one thing that's overrated, he said bean dip. Considering you can make like a really good queso dip with 4 ingredients, I want to say queso dips are completely overrated. And also on You Betcha, the guy made a very valid point, and it made me realize something. Your cheese sauces and sauces over nachos. Why can't the sauce be on the side? Do you like eating soggy chips after 10 minutes? It's literally a mad dash to smash all these already not good things to eat quickly. Or you could just get a big queso dip in a cast iron skillet, and you could.
That's why they sell them at chain restaurants, bro. That way they don't get fucking returned.
But how many people though? Like still sell nachos with all the stuff on them, like all the creators and stuff like that. They're like, oh, I want to pour this cheese sauce all over the.
That's because it looks good, dude. That's just for like camera. Like if you go to an honest to God like Taco Shack, dude, and get like their super nachos, that shit's got like carne asada, it's got like pico de gallo, it's got like queso fresco, shit like that on it.
Yeah.
There's no fucking cheese sauce. Your chips are still crunchy. You still have all the texture involved. There's none of that shit on there. I equate that to going to the gas station when you're stoned, dude. Gas station nachos, they're only good like at one point of your life.
Yeah. All right. So we talk about like what's overrated. So instead of burying people, let's keep it.
What's underrated?
No. Yeah. Like what is one thing that people don't put enough emphasis in cooking that is a game-changing experience?
Lowbrow steaks.
What is it?
Lowbrow steaks.
What do you mean lowbrow? I mean, is that like a German?
No. So you have high-end steaks that are like your tomahawk ribeyes, your...
Oh, you're talking about like flank and picanha?
I'm talking like top round, London broils. Instead of like slow cooking that, shredding it, making other shit with it, grill a London broil to like mid-rare. Do that with like a top round that you break down into steak size portions. You're going to get more flavor complex. You're going to have a better texture, and it's going to be an eighth of the cost, dude.
It really is. I will say I had chuck roast steaks, not that long ago. It was actually, I bought them over in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, right over by the northern.
I've been there plenty of times. I know exactly where that is.
Yeah, and there was something they sold there at the one Weiss Markets. Mm-hmm. It was chuck roast steaks. They were pretty good. Yeah. A little tough, little chewy. But I think if you marinate them for a long time, like I think the key, and that's why I had that skirt steak. I'm letting it marinate in like a brilliant balsamic marinade, and I'm hoping tomorrow that makes that just a little bit more tender when I go to bite into it.
If you have a marinade,
our boy Arnie texts, and he's like, his fajitas look so good, man. So I've been trying to mimic his.
If you take an inexpensive cut of beef, and if you either tenderize it where you're breaking down all of those tissues, or if you marinate it with a compound that has a salicylic acid in it, it's going to do the same thing without the effort.
Right.
So like when you do like fajitas, like you're going to use like lime juice, you're going to use tequila, you're going to use stuff like that. You know, it's the same thing when we marinate stuff for barbecuing, because there's so much acids in that marinade. You're going to break down that cheap cut of meat, make it more palatable, more tender, and it's an eighth of the cost, and you get better flavor complexes out of it.
Right. I think I'm going to say my underrated cook is scrambled eggs.
You know what? That's one of the things that every real chef on the planet, when they hire someone, they will hand you an egg and go, make me the perfect scrambled eggs.
I mean, I know Ramsay does that in his Hell's Kitchen contest in a couple of the seasons, but I watched it, and, you know, it's literally the simplest things. Like tomorrow, I'm saving a little bit of, there's this local milk. It's vitamin D, but it's literally got cream on the inside the cap. Like when you open the cap lift up, there's like a cream cap on it.
Yeah.
Just supposed to shake that thing up before, and I want to make some scrambled eggs with that milk in the morning. And just like the quality of milk you use, like the more you like stir it, just your consistency of egg to milk ratio, like remove it from heat on heat, like, you know, don't like just keep fluffing. Like it's if you stop at any point in scrambling your scrambled eggs, you did it wrong.
And here's the thing.
So like that's one thing, like, I mean, I've learned. And like the seasoning, I just use, and honestly, one of my favorite scrambled egg seasonings is the SOA from El Fuego Lento.
Really?
It's because it's got shaved salt in it, so it's got like good salt content, and it's a little spicy, like a little salty, obviously, so it goes good at the eggs. But I don't know, man. It's just got, and that barbecue Ray's also makes a really good scrambled egg.
I'll tell you this. Simplicity of design. You know, when you cook a steak, you don't need to add extra shit to it.
No, you really
don't.
Salt,
pepper, dude. Salt, pepper, garlic. Okay.
Not even garlic, really. You don't even need like butter, salt, pepper. If I salt, pepper, butter would be like if I had 3 ingredients. I
usually don't pan-sear my steaks, dude. Like, there's no Goodfellas going on in my house. Usually, if I'm gonna do some steaks, man, they're gonna be on the grill.
Yeah.
So there's no butter.
But then I still like to have butter to rest on for a good grilled steak.
Yeah, that's like finishing salt and compound butters and shit. But like, if you have good ingredients, like scrambled eggs, you don't need any of that. If you have a good milk product, fresh, good eggs, little salt, little pepper, man. That's it.
I mean, and really, you can survive without the salt and pepper if you have good enough. If you're using a good cream or a good milk.
Yep.
By the way, how would table cream do on scrambled eggs?
You'll definitely get a richer, like deeper flavor.
So if you did like a little bit of milk, a little bit of cream, I was just curious.
Yeah, as long as especially if you use a whisk, because you're gonna aerate everything. There's gonna be aeration in the cream, and it's gonna fold everything in better.
What kind of cookie is that? That's like egg whites that you just beat and beat and beat and beat until they're like nothing but foam, and then you like, man, it's not a macaroon. It's
You mean marzipans?
What are they?
They're like macarons.
Yeah, is that what like beaten egg whites cookies are? Yeah.
And then you could add like different like flavors.
I call them macaroons. What an idiot.
Macaroons are interesting fact because Hanukkah is coming up. Macaroons are kosher for the Jewish holidays because all they are is like eggs and shaved coconut and like.
Happy Hanukkah to all our Jewish followers. Happy Kwanzaa to everybody that celebrates the Kwanzaa.
You had to say Kwanzaa. I have a Kwanzaa story.
That's why we bring up rant. That's why you and I will go well and well. I just was trying to be politically correct, and it led to an epic story. The floor is yours, sir.
This is mildly politically incorrect.
Well, I feel like we've already crossed that today, so send it.
So, about 15 years, give or take, I was dating this young lady from South Africa, and her parents invite me over to Christmas with them, so we go over their house and I'm on their back porch having a smoke. And this is back when the Rev was drinking. So I was having my breakfast beer because that's what you do. It's Christmas. And I'm making a phone call. I'm calling all my homies back east in New York. And, and I call up my buddy Jason. And I got him on speakerphone, and, I tell him, Merry Christmas, ask him what he's doing. And, I tell him, hey, I'm at the South African girl's, her family's house, And he goes, hey, ask him what the fuck Kwanzaa is, bro. And at that pinnacle moment of the conversation, her dad walks out.
Because he could hear it?
He was just coming out to have a smoke, but just timing, bro, timing. So after that, I get a 20-minute dissertation on where Kwanzaa came from and how it's a friggin' holiday.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Jay.
Way to go, bro.
Appreciate you, Jay. What a guy. What a guy.
Interesting fact about Mr. Tilliard. That was his name. You ever seen the movie Hotel Rwanda?
Yes, actually I have. Great movie. Underrated movie. Speaking of underrated movie.
He was one of our first conversations. He's like, oh, you were in the Army. He's like, me too. I said, oh, yeah? What'd you do? Where'd you serve? He's like, you ever seen the gun trucks in Hotel Rwanda? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I did that.
I mean, dude, that situation escalated quickly. We actually watched that movie in a high school class. No, college class. We watched it in the college class. It was a college class. It was like some kind of history class or some kind. It was something about that. But it was a really educational movie of an unknown situation.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it was Hollywooded up, substantially, but I don't know if you could really Hollywood up an African overthrow,
a genocide,
I don't think you can really put that into words.
You ever seen Black Hawk Down?
Yes. Speaking of which, our friend Zach Lauer was involved in one of those kinds of missions.
Mm-hmm. So my first sergeant in the Army was in the second wave of U.S. troops who tried to extract all of the fallen Blackhawks. And that is the reason why we had the highest PT scores in our entire company, because he ran the Mogadishu Mile. He was one of those guys who they ran out of armored personnel carriers. So there were guys at the end of the movie, you see him just like running out. He had to run for something like 25 miles from the middle of Mogadishu into this soccer stadium. And about 3 minutes in, he ran out of bullets.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
Just keep running, man.
That was it. Like, you either going to run or you're going to die. That's your choice.
Jesus.
Yep. There's that dude, if you watch the movie, there's a guy who has the SAW, the squad automatic weapon. He goes deaf from shooting the friggin' thing because he didn't have any earplugs. That dude is actually a park ranger now in the Grand Canyon.
He's just quiet with his thoughts now, man.
Yep, just walking around, looking at nature and shit. I mean,
kind of the perfect job, You can't hear nothing, so nothing's going to scare you.
I think at that point, you don't really get scared of much.
No, you're right. I can't relate, but I imagine it would be,
I'm just saying, man, after you've been shot at a bunch of times, you kind of you're like, every guy I've ever met who's a veteran who's been in like hairy combat situations, they'll kind of have that conversation with God real quick. God, air quotes. Said, listen, man.
Whoever keeps me safe, please.
You know what? Listen, man. You don't come to my house, I'm not going to fucking go to yours.
Yep.
End of story.
Yep. Oh, man. Now, you'll have to ask Zach. Zach, I don't want to tell. I think it's uncouth to tell other people's stories, but you'll have to ask him on his. That was a good one.
I'm sure one of these days we're gonna swap interesting stories.
By the way, Zach, if he's watching, my wife and I and the kids met up with him, his wife, and their kids, and that was an awesome time, man.
In the cul-de-sac. Did you go glamping, bro?
We did not go glamping.
Sad.
But we were. I see why he does go glamping. I mean, yeah, it's that beautiful home, beautiful family. You know, fenced in backyard. Like, you know, he's not doing bad. But I know where this guy grew up, which is 15 minutes down the road from me. Has a little more. We grew up with a little more space. But no, shout out Zach though. Awesome dude. You know, you don't know how these people are. Yeah. And even if I met up with like you and Johnsy, Nombre, like on that first time, like even when I met Tina, like when you meet him, like, God, there's that anxiety. Like, please be cool. I've invested a lot of time in this relationship. Please be cool. And then Zach was awesome. He was cooler and shit, man. And you could tell neither one of us really knew how to break the ice, so we just like talked like we knew each other from like way back in the day. Yeah. And that worked.
Tony, you have made a fatal error.
What's that?
Ms. Tina who?
Ms. Tina Cannon.
Ms. Tina Cannon. Do
Yeah.
you know why you made a fatal error? Let's see if it sinks into your brain right now.
Did I say Miss Tina?
There was a bet
On
that
the pearl?
involves some pearl necklace.
Yeah, I wore it for Arnie.
I don't care.
Yeah.
You had to wear it for a month straight.
I know.
I told you, anytime you bring it up, I'm calling you out, bro.
It needs to happen. I need to get it over with.
You know, a couple of weeks back, she popped in and said hi, you know, while me and Johnsy were on the show. And I absolutely mentioned it because that's the thing. Anytime.
I'm surprised you didn't say anything because I talked to her over the weekend. First time I talked to her in a while.
I'm gonna bring it up. I gotta.
She did her whole hog class, so I didn't want to bug her a whole lot during the weeks before that because I'm sure that's an undertaking. But yeah, I know. Technically, I got screwed over and I shouldn't have to wear it at all. Because
sure. I bet's a bet, bro.
Yeah. I beat her in South Carolina, and it was supposed to be whoever won that. No, it was supposed to be a clean sweep. It was original bet was supposed to be a clean sweep, and it was apparently a 1-1.
Yeah, that means you lost a bet, bro.
It wasn't a clean sweep.
No,
it was supposed to be a clean sweep either way or null and void.
Keep backpedaling, bro.
I will.
I just want to see you walk around with a fucking
down the hill, man. Hey, we're all about dying on hills.
On a month worth of shows, I want to see you wear them pretty pearl necklaces, bro.
It's not bad. I'd rock it all right.
I'll tell you this. This is the reason why I will always have love for Miss Tina Cannon. Because we both have a mutual and utter disdain for Bobby Flay.
Yeah. Yeah, we do now too. We all
here's the thing. Bobby Flay.
1 minute. We'll get to that.
He has that weird accent, right?
Yeah.
Bobby Flay is from Queens, New York. Okay. Bobby Flay is a high school dropout, and he had to have his parents sign the paperwork for him to go to culinary school, right? Well, Bobby Flay's biggest thing is he does, you know, Mexican and Latin-inspired cuisine, right?
Yeah,
personally, I live in the South.
Rack of lamb.
Yeah, well, you know, me personally, I live in the Southwest. I have for over 20 years. Back in my younger days, I spent a lot of time south of the border, bro. Right? I got a lot of Latino Mexican friends, and everything that Bobby Flay makes is complete garbage. Straight hot garbage, bro.
Oh, man. He said it.
Oh, yeah. Get hot garbage. Dude, he won
garbage.
Straight hot garbage. He won the Bon Appetit Culinary Magazine Burger of the Year Award for making a fucking cheeseburger with blue corn tortilla chips on it.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I'm texting this moment for Johnsy to clip. 54-minute mark.
I'll say it again. Bobby Flay's food is fucking hot garbage. And you know what? I'll double down on that. Fucking Gordon Ramsay's overrated. Hell's Kitchen has the same fucking menu for 20 years. Straight hot garbage there too.
I don't see how beef Wellington's delicious. I think does the pastry really bring that much flavor to a Wellington on that small of a piece of pastry on that thick of a cut of meat?
It's not the pastry. It's all the other shit. It's like the duxelle and the reductions and shit that you put around it. The pastry just kind of fucking holds everything together.
Yeah, I don't know.
But here's the thing. They haven't changed the standard menu at the Hell's Kitchen restaurant in Las Vegas, Nevada in 20 fucking years since they started this bullshit.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, but it's fucking the same shit and it's garbage. It's not innovative. If you're going to be a chef, you need to come up.
It should be a day. You shouldn't even have a menu, like a print menu. You should have a daily menu of the chef's dishes for the day.
And here's the thing. Do you know who fucking Thomas Keller is?
I don't know who Helen Keller was.
So Thomas Keller owns the #1 Michelin star restaurant in the country. Okay. But here's the thing. There's no menu. Okay. So when you go in, they have a tasting menu. And it's like 30 plates. They're all sample plates. They're all amuse-bouche. And it's whatever the fuck he came up with that day. One of the very first, in the first season of like a cook's tour or No Reservations with Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah.
They go there and Thomas Keller's like, sure, we've met. You're a cool dude. We can do an episode in my restaurant. And Anthony Bourdain takes 2 of his best friends with him. And they catered like a 30-course, 40-course plated meal around what Anthony Bourdain and his friends might like. Right?
That's insane.
So it's like a marathon, right? And this time, Bourdain is smoking like a chimney. Like every episode, he's smoking like 9 packs of cigarettes a day and drinking like a fish, you know. Thomas Keller looked at that shit and he made a dessert that was infused with Marlboro cigarettes and Jack Daniel's whiskey. Just so Bourdain, and he did it in the middle of the meal, just so Bourdain wouldn't have to go out and have a cigarette.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. That shit is what a chef does. Not regurgitate the same shit for 20, 30 fucking years.
Man, we all miss Bourdain, man.
You ever watch Roadrunner, the documentary about his life, dude?
No, but I'm sure it's interesting and fascinating because him as a person intrigues me a tremendous amount.
Bro, I've talked about this before, but David Cho explains Anthony Bourdain's psyche.
Yeah, I remember you talking about the David Cho guy on this before, but tell everybody that hasn't watched.
So David Cho is like a street artist from LA, and he's like a fucking millionaire now because, like I said, he was a street artist, kind of like this punk dude, and he grew up in like Koreatown in LA, and he got this offer from some startup tech company. Said, hey, do you want to paint our office? Do you want to do the murals in our office?
Oh, yes.
And David Cho's like, sure, fuck it, whatever. And he did it. And the owner of the company went, listen, man, we don't have any money right now. How about I give you like 40% stock shares in our company? And David Cho at the time was like, fuck it, whatever. And he did. And that little company.
Like, it's either that or get no payment at all. So I'll take what I can get.
So he's like, whatever, sure. That little company was Facebook. And the owner of that company was fucking Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah. Now, did he ever sell it or did he get to keep all 40%?
He got to keep it. Eventually, he sold it. Once Facebook was huge, he's like, ka-ching, give me my money.
And then there's some douchebag in the back like, imagine if he'd still have it. Like, yeah, he'd still be poor waiting to cash it in. Like, he's lived his life for the last 10 years, man.
Yeah, dude.
Listen, a mill's a mill. Just give me a mill, any mill, and, like, I'm good.
And that's the thing. Now he has his own art studio. He does what he wants. And now his paintings and shit are worth millions, dude.
Yeah.
Because he's like
$1 million with a guaranteed 6% return every year and everything paid off.
Yep.
And live off 60 grand cash. Like get $5 grand a month just to do whatever the F you need to do with, man.
Yeah. Well, him and Bourdain were like really good friends.
Okay. He said, yeah, we're talking about Anthony Bourdain's mindset. Sorry.
Yeah. So Anthony Bourdain was a heroin addict. Like if you read Kitchen Confidential, and there's a bunch of episodes in a bunch of his different series when he talks about recovery and he talks about addiction, he talks about being a drug addict. Well, and that was David Cho's thing because he has a bunch of addictions too that he's sought help for, and he's been through therapy and he's been through recovery and he's worked on the issues and shit. And he looked at Bourdain and like what he was doing, whether it was like he was big into jiu-jitsu. He was like a 3rd degree blue belt or some shit in like jiu-jitsu. He like won tournaments and competitions, but
not bad for a heroin addict. Not
bad for, and he was like in his 50s and shit when he started, dude. But that's the thing.
Chuck Norris.
He did that shit every day, 7 days a week for like 16, 18 hours a day. Right? When so to anybody who's into horror movies, Anthony Bourdain towards the end of his life started dating this chick named Asia Argento. So if anybody's into horror movies, they know that name because he was one of the forerunners of Italian horror movies. That was her dad.
Okay.
But Bourdain would literally obsess about his girlfriend. He would be there 20 hours a day, fucking talking about her, fucking watching her in movies and shit, looking at her print ads. And David Cho, after watching a bunch of shit, looked at Bourdain and was like, so you're still a fucking drug addict. You're just not using heroin. You know, you spend 18 hours a day doing fucking jujitsu. You spent like, you know.
We're all addicts, man. We just replace a vice with another vice.
Yeah, but like speaking as a heroin addict who's in recovery, there's a difference.
I mean, I guess
because we will take that shit into fucking oblivion, dude.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. When it's untreated and you don't go through the necessary things you have to do to be in that recovered mindset where you know that balance. Like when I was in early recovery,
like he took like addiction to like an addiction level of infinity.
Well, and that's the thing. He just replaced, shooting dope with doing other shit. And that, you know what? Even in early sobriety, like my first 9 months, a year of sobriety, I did the same shit. Like whether it was like, girls or food or like fucking shopping sprees, like whatever weird idea I had float around in my brain, I would spend like thousands of dollars coming up with whatever that shit was.
Right.
Whether it was buying fucking the Elusive Punk CDs and shit. Like there was times where I'd try to find a certain album from a band. I'd stay up 3 days straight, just chain smoking, drinking coffee, searching fucking eBay and every possible website till I got this fucking golden CD and shit.
Crazy, dude. Crazy.
There was a point when, I was, fucking bird dogging chicks, man, chasing the tail. I'd go on like 7 dates in a day. A fucking day, bro.
You had it all lined up. It was the high to see how many you could get in the day.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You're still chasing it until you learn to change your fucking thought process and your mentality about finding balance,
Yeah.
You ever seen the movie Get 'Em to the Greek? Because there's a great line I tell sponsors all the time from that movie.
Funny ass movie, by the way. Underrated movie. Speaking of underrated.
There's a scene when Aldous Snow is talking to his ex-girlfriend, and he's like, I'm better now. I do yoga. She's like, you're fucking mental. You do yoga for like 18 hours a day. There's nothing you can't turn into heroin. And it's so fucking true because that's the thing. That's the mentality. And like David Cho recognized that shit from all the work he did. People in recovery do a lot of like introspection and personal reflection to look at shit to change for the better. Bourdain didn't do those things to change for the better. So he would still be a fucking drug addict, just without the drugs.
Right. Yeah. Rest in peace, Anthony Bourdain, man. Gone too soon. Yeah. A lot of people. Shout out Kurt Cobain. Courtney did it. That's an interesting documentary.
It sure is, man.
The one that interviewed the PI that she had hired. And his conclusion was that she did it.
There's a conspiracy theory that says that Courtney Love was actually part of the MK Ultra project.
What's the MK Ultra? And I think I've heard this before. It was some refresh my memory. I don't want to say something and look like a complete idiot.
So back in the 60s and 70s, there was this CIA and government program where they were using hallucinogens to try and brainwash people into becoming unaware assassins. There's a great movie and a book about it. It's called The Manchurian Candidate.
Oh, dude, great movie.
Denzel did a great job in the remake of it. Yeah.
And Lieutenant Dan is like the president in that movie.
Yeah. Gary Oldman or Gary Sinise. Yeah.
Yeah, Gary Sinise, the Gary Sinise Foundation. Okay, look at us. Yeah.
The Lieutenant Dan band. Yeah. But this was a real thing where the government would take unwitting members of the populace and try and brainwash them with a certain trigger word through hallucinogens and narcotics to make them lucid enough to accept the commands. The problem with hypnosis is if you are morally objecting to do something in your brain, you won't do it. You won't commit to that hypnotic prompt. Okay, so they figured that if you could use a combination of hypnosis and narcotics, you would make someone pliable enough to do it. One of the earliest experiments they used to test out the narcotics like LSD, psilocybin, ketamine, shit like that, was they set up a whorehouse in San Francisco and they would have the girls dose all the Johns to witness their behaviors. And like there were microphones and cameras stashed fucking everywhere. And it was kind of like their experiment, their like think tank sort of to see how this would react. So the theory is because apparently Courtney Love, prior to being the band Hole, prior to dating Kurt Cobain, that she had experiences in those kind of establishments where she would sucker dudes into like having a drink and it would be dosed with something to find their behavior.
You said you'd suck and you worded that poorly. I just want to throw that out there. I was like, where is he going with this? We're already into the blowjobs. And then I was like, oh, wait, we're not there yet. I was like, okay. I was like, you're like, she's like, suck these guys in. I'm like, okay. These are very specific details.
So, and that's the theory that Courtney Love was actually one of these Manchurian Candidate subjects from the MK Ultra project. Okay. When certain people get too big for their britches, you know, like that's also one of the theories about John Lennon getting killed by Mark David Chapman. You know, he was one of the things he said was, you know, the Beatles are more famous than Jesus Christ, and people lost their fucking minds.
Wasn't wrong. More people knew about the Beatles than Jesus, but anyway.
I'm just saying.
It's like this. They call it the sacrifice. It's like another conspiracy of elitists in Hollywood. You have to sacrifice to become mega rich.
Well, and that's
like Aaliyah died, like unbelievably talented, died in a plane crash. Whoever was with her or repped her blew up from it.
Yeah.
Jay-Z was it said blood sacrifice. You know, who else was a young, like any of the young, like super talented musicians that die tragically and suddenly they say it's like the blood.
You know, like
we're talking, I know hopefully Crow's watching because we're going full conspiracy right now. We are deep. Yeah, it's called like blood sacrifice. Like they sacrifice, like Katy Perry, like had to do something to sacrifice. Nicki Minaj. these bigger than life personalities. There were like videos of them like glitching out in public, like full glitching.
You know the Tupac conspiracy?
That he's alive on some island down in like the Caribbeans or something like that.
In Cuba.
Cuba, yeah. Got close enough.
So there's a bunch of pictures and videos of this dude who looks damn close to fucking Tupac, right? But here's the kicker for that is Suge Knight, his best friend, for some reason keeps going to Cuba. And he keeps fucking hanging out with this dude who looks exactly like Tupac. And the time frames coordinate with all the times Tupac's unreleased material gets released.
Yeah, there's always like hidden, like, oh, we found the new album, and it's like a banger, and it's like really good, and it's like, how did you not know this existed? Like
every time that happens, Suge Knight ends up flying somewhere else outside of fucking U.S. territory, and then gets another plane to go to Cuba.
So then goes to Cuba.
Well, because for a lot of years, U.S. citizens couldn't go.
Oh, that's right. There was the
There's a trade embargo since Kennedy was in office.
Old embargo. Bay of Pigs, shout out. Yeah, dude. There's so many cool conspiracies, man. There's so many cool ones. Of like the videos of like a bird flying in place, it's like just stuck, but it's flying. It's flying, but it's there, like it doesn't move.
Do you know the Donald Trump alien?
The Mandela effect is really fascinating to me.
I told you about that one with the multiverse.
Well, even I knew that one before you talked about it.
But it explains why the Mandela effect happened.
It's a theory that could explain why the Mandela effect happened.
Sure. Do you know the Donald Trump alien conspiracy?
Yeah,
and this one actually makes fucking sense. About
dude, there's like a conspiracy of alien people. Like Justin Bieber supposedly his human shield let down at an airport in Japan, and like all these people like saw him like turn into a fucking temporary alien and turn back.
The lizard people or whatever.
Yeah, lizard people, and they're like this, but it's like a different galaxy where they're coming here to help supposedly to help us become enlightened or something like that.
That's never gonna happen. Yeah. This one's different though. So for years, the government said that they were going to release the information about UFOs and flying saucers and all this shit, right?
Yeah.
Predominantly the Air Force and the U.S. Navy, right? They did it and nobody noticed.
Because, they did, and they announced they were going to do it. I just think everyone was just like, yeah, so what? Aliens exist. Big fucking deal.
No. Here's the thing.
Okay.
The same time frame when they had Navy admirals and generals from the Air Force, they did press conferences. You can look it up on YouTube, where they showed this footage from, fighter pilots and Navy ships. And
I was say, like, there's always been footage available and, like, pilots always speaking out. And that's why I think when they said, like, hey, we're releasing all this, everyone's like, yeah, so.
They did it at the exact same time Donald Trump was losing his shit on Twitter.
They said he was like, yeah. There's a Omarosa. Did you watch like Omarosa on Celebrity Big Brother? And it was like the only time Celebrity Big Brother was actually relevant because Omarosa was like spilling the beans of how Donald Trump worked, like in the middle of the night. Like they're all sitting around just like not drinking, like just bored. Like, that's how the White House works. Like, and she was like, yeah, he would like go make a stupid ass tweet and then like sign like 20 executive orders like behind the scenes while during the fallout of the tweet was going on. Like that was his strategy. Like I would have realized like, oh, he needs to keep him off Twitter. Like Twitter's the reason he got half his shit done without backlash.
That is the exact reason why they released all of this footage and now all these press conferences about UFOs existing and like confirmed all this shit, but no one's paying attention because Donald Trump was losing his shit on Twitter. and being fucking crazy like he is.
Fake news.
Fake news.
Antarctica is another fascinating one. So, by the way, our guest on the 30th has recently been to Antarctica.
Oh, yeah?
On like this like special cruise ship that can take you to Antarctica.
Yeah.
Where you can get out and like walk around Antarctica.
You know, Metallica was the first band to ever play on every single continent. And
did they do like an acoustic set? Please say they did an acoustic set.
No, they actually.
No, I said, please don't. I meant please don't say they did an acoustic set.
They engineered this sound stage for Metallica to play like whatever they wanted to, but all of the wiring was ran into headphones instead of speakers. So everybody who would like watch the show had to put on these like big ass earmuffs to watch them play.
That's awesome.
Could you imagine being the one guy who wasn't listening to the music?
Like you're on the sound, like you're like in front of camera, and you're like, "Fuck!" And they're just hearing like you just hear like the strumming, like the electric, which is like no strumming at all. It barely hears. It barely sounds like anything.
Exactly.
But imagine being one of the people to say you did get to listen to it.
It's once in a lifetime kind of thing, man. Here's an interesting thing about Antarctica. Okay.
Yes.
So back in the 14 and 1500s. There are maps. They still exist. We still have them.
Right? Well, back in the 40s. Okay, go ahead.
So there are still maps of Antarctica from the 14 and 1500s.
Okay.
Well, all of the documentation that we have about trade routes and sailing, nobody ever discovered Antarctica like they discovered the New World or, you know, the different trade routes. How is that on maps if we were never there?
It makes you wonder. I think Antarctica is like the big question mark. You're not allowed to fly over Antarctica. Like it's a no-fly zone, and not even like the North Koreans or Russians are dumb enough to try to do it.
Weird, ain't it?
Really weird. Well, and then there's like that American admiral pilot that flew over during like World War II, like the World War II excursions and stuff like that.
Yep.
And actually, they say do you know if you look at a United States atlas pre-1940s, it'll talk about the landmarks on Antarctica, like of there being like a massive wall or a fort or a base or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And then like post World War II, it's no longer posted in any single atlases.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Antarctica's fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
I ain't going to be the one to go figure it out, but I'll let some other brave bastard be the hero on that one.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be the guy. You'd be crazy enough to do it.
Hey, you know what? If we get better sponsors, bro, I will totally take Dude Force One.
How about National Geographic?
Sure.
How about the Smithsonian Magazine? Prelude.
Weird. Interesting. But
thank you. Yeah.
Nice.
I thought if I go to the top, it stopped, and it did. Hey, look at me. Math.
Speaking of Smithsonian, there's some articles you can read about the giants of America. Do you know what these are?
Yes, down in the mountains of the Amazon rainforest, they found some skeletons up.
I mean,
Terry Barrow, like up in the mountains, like in the middle of the rainforest.
No, I mean here in America.
Where was it?
So there are these burial mounds throughout the country.
Was it North Carolina?
That's one of them.
Okay. So yeah, okay. I have heard one. I wanted to throw out something like, oh, Tony's just talking to fit in.
So apparently they found in these huge burial mounds throughout America, in the U.S., these huge giant skeletons. Like skulls are like 6 feet long and shit. And apparently it's been happening since the founding of America. And the Smithsonian actually has a number of the specimens locked up in storage that nobody's allowed to see.
So,
in fact, even Abraham Lincoln once wrote a letter to his vice president when he was viewing the country, and they came up on one of these burial mounds that someone was digging a well, and they found a bunch of these gigantic skeletons and skulls and shit. And he actually documented them finding these things.
Fun. You want story time?
Sure.
Ohio, down close to Cambridge, which Salt Fork State Park is like known for its Bigfoot hunts and excursions and sightings and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Don't live too far from it, but I had family, and it was my dad's side, and they're still around, and I hope I get to like one day bump back into them to like strike this conversation back up. But they were out mushroom hunting, looking for morels, and they found this arm, and they thought like wild dogs had like dug it up, but like the arm was like 8 feet long, and they were out there, and like when they came across it, like everything got like dead quiet. Birds stopped chirping, like it was like ghostly quiet. So they took photos with it, took the thing back home. They took it to the local taxidermist. Taxidermist is like, no clue what this is. Like, I have no clue. But they were worried about being like a human, so they called authorities. Next thing you know, this government agency comes out, wants to see the pictures, wants to see the arms. They take it for, supposedly they take it for testing.
Yeah.
Nothing. And apparently they didn't get all the photos. There's like 2 photos of them like standing, holding this arm that's taller than them, and it's just
nice.
And it had like human fingernails, like it was fucking crazy. And there were other times they were out like same year they went back out mushroom hunting again like a couple weeks later, and they heard something like walking, and again everything got really, really quiet. Yeah. And I heard something walk away, and as soon as it started to walk away, birds started chirping again.
Weird.
So it was like really crazy, but yeah, there's like that's story time, man. I haven't told that story in probably 20 years.
Bro, you should get them pictures, dude.
I couldn't even tell you which one of my dad's like cousins or uncles it is, and the next time I'd even see him, like I might have to drag my family to that side of the family reunion next year strictly for that purpose.
You know what? That seems totally worth it. Sucking up dealing with
they're not bad people.
The
they're
family
really
reunion.
I mean, I just haven't seen them in so long. I don't even know if they know who the hell I am.
I was saying, bro, that'd be a cool thing to have on the show.
Oh, dude, like I wish I need to know who did it. There's one guy that's still, you know what? Uncle Bob Jameson, Robert Jameson. I need to hit him up.
I'm saying, man.
They were at the wedding. They came to our wedding.
Right on.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, though. But yeah, it was like, I guess the agency came and took it, and they said they were going to get back to him when they did testing, and then they're like, they called, like, what's up? Like, oh, what? Like, nah. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like,
yeah.
Like, so it's crazy, man. Like, I can tell you that the stories, now I can't verify. It was kind of like some of the family would talk about it and some of them wouldn't, type deal. And I think like a lot of like the wives were like, yeah, we don't talk about Bruno. Like, it's just not good to talk about that. It was fishy. I don't got good. Mom's intuition's always right. Like
always right. Yeah.
I don't think we should talk about it. So let's not talk about it.
That's like fucking Operation Paperclip that nobody talks about.
Operation Paperclip, man. I don't know this one either.
Operation Paperclip was a government-sanctioned project where they took... So we weren't the first ones to come up with rocketry and missiles and shit. Okay. No. So Chinese, Germany... Right? No, well, in theory. But we're talking like the modern rockets, like missiles and spaceships and shit. The Germans had the V-rocket systems, okay, back in World War II. So during the fall of Berlin, the U.S. government went in and captured a number of scientists from their rocketry program and brought them here in something known as Operation Paperclip. Now, Operation Paperclip later became something very famous here in the United States. It has two very big. No. We even talk about it and celebrate it and shit all the time. Okay. And their two biggest places are Florida and Texas. You ever heard of a little organization called NASA?
Oh, okay.
So the forerunners for NASA and the space program are all the German all the Nazi scientists from the fall of Berlin in Operation Paperclip.
That I'm sure we told them we liberated them.
So here's the thing. A lot of the German officers had like pedigrees. Okay. So these are guys who went to like private schools. They did like, polo on horses and shit. They also had fencing clubs. Okay. And one of the biggest things was to get the best, highest score during those times in German fencing matches was they wouldn't wear masks. They wouldn't wear those mesh fencing masks. They wear goggles. And there's a particular style of fencing that you use a saber, and all you're trying to do is cut a dude in the face, like right on the cheeks. So what they would do is, if you got cut in the face, that showed how tough you are and what kind of officer you would be and all that. And what they would do is, once you got that incision on your face, they would pack it full of horsehair to make the scar worse. Okay? So you can look up pictures of JFK and Lyndon Johnson during a space shuttle launch with one of those German officers, because he has this big, gnarly fencing scar on his face.
Tense. Boy, you and John Z are up against it for next week. That's a fact. We're gonna wrap it up. I think that's a good way to end it for tonight, as we closed in on the hour and a half mark. Real quick, tomorrow night, weekend kickoff party. Nombre's not gonna be with us again. That sucks.
We miss Nombre.
Yeah, we miss Nombre. I feel like it's been forever. But John Z said he would be. He texted us during the show that he would be on tomorrow. So excited to have him on. But we are having Bruzel, who is like a bourbon drinkologist, man. Like, he can pick out any bourbon against any bourbon by simply tasting it. Like, the guy's awesome. Like 150,000 followers on YouTube, like 250,000 on TikTok. Like, he's doing really, really good. He's a very good personality. So excited to have a bourbon guy on. And then we're gonna
philosophical about all things bourbon and whiskey related.
Yeah, I think you're gonna really enjoy Mr. Bruzel. And then I'm really excited for having Unky Seasoning on for the after party. He's a fireman. He's got his own lines of seasonings and stuff like that. We'll let him promote those. But we wanted to have him on to talk firehouse banter and food and just the lifestyle of a full-time firefighter. We have not had anybody on in that space, so I just thought it was a really good change up for the after party. And everybody that's watching, we are going to be doing more variety. We're really good in the barbecue space, and we love barbecue and we love food. But at the end of the day, we're the Dude Network, not the Dude Food Network, and we are making some adjustments. We're continuously trying to grow, change.
Diversity.
John's got an upcoming show that we'll be debuting, and we'll let him announce here soon. That's going to really help diversify us even further and give us more weekly live content for anybody that wants to watch. And then the Friday night show, we're going to just have. We don't know what we're going to have on, but I do know the next few weeks we got authors, comedians, firefighters, barbecue people, obviously, musicians, journalists.
And you know what? It's all on the street. Even the Thursday show might have a special guest every now and again.
I'm excited for that, and I'm real excited for that. I'm excited this show is ready. I feel like the concept of this show is buttoned down with the randomness. So, no, Robert Race, you rock. That's a fact. You rock. appreciate you coming on here and commenting through all the show, man. Robert, you're awesome. We really do appreciate your support, brother. We do mean that. We really, really do. But yeah, man, this show's ready. I think it's ready for some nice diversity, and it is random. And I think your rendezvous that you've met over your lifetime, which has been a wild one, and then with John Z and me, and I don't know who and the people we've had on, like this guest, that's what I love about the show. You can have anybody. You can have anywhere from like an astrophysicist to. I see like a lot of smart people in your circle though, like the brainiacs, like the ones that are weird brainiacs are so smart. They're like weird.
How about that? We would definitely have our niche market that we know everything about.
You talked about one guest that you said you could get on that like you could easily get on. And I was like, you've been sandbagging this dude, the t-shirt guy?
Yeah. There's a couple, dude. I got a couple in the chamber, so to speak.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm so excited. I wish this was an actual job that paid something, but I love my job. If we could end up doing this where we do this every day to talk to random people and like learn their stories, like sign me up. But dudes and dudettes, you guys are all the best. We appreciate you, Rev. You're the man. We'll see you tomorrow night on Friday. And you guys can check this Random Thoughts with the Rev next Thursday, 8 o'clock Eastern, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Pacific, and 7 p.m. Central. Nailed it. Let's go.
Sure.